We are traveling through space today with an unbelievably interesting topic to most of us Earthlings. And we have two people that are very, very knowledgeable about these things. And I'm talking about the UFO sightings that are reported every year. There's like 10,000 or more sightings. So I have Leslie and Stephen Shaw. Welcome.
Hi, Mimi. Thanks for having us.
Very, 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 very thankful for having us. Thank you.
You too, Stephen. So you guys, like myself, we're interested in many things. And I know that you have spent decades researching things about ancient history and human evolution, and even like Buddhism, which to me is very interesting. I'm really into that myself. And that you've kind of woven together a fact-driven, eye-opening account of what you think mankind's true history is, which I always say, nobody really knows. You know, they have their arguments in the Bible, and then there's a scientist. Nobody really knows. So let's talk about that. And let's all agree, this is for my listeners, to suspend disbelief, which means no matter what you think, just open your mind and listen. So guys, why do you think these UFO sightings or aliens are coming around so often? What do you think?
We believe it's because they're sharing the planet with us. That they don't
been for a long time.
Yeah, for thousands of years.
I think, well, see, this is, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because you said that. I'm right now studying about the starseed theory. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, indigo children. Yeah, right.
Yeah. The writer Brad Steiger in 1976 wrote a book called Gods of Aquarius. And his principle of us
Interesting.
is that there are people out there. We're not alone. It's pretty egotistical to think we are. And that some planet out there or whatever decided we needed help and sent down some seeds. And these seeds implanted in certain humans, which made them human hybrids. And I love that theory. Have you read about that?
Yes, we have a little bit different take on the star children than that.
You tell me your take.
Sure. It's well, when we started researching the abduction phenomenon, we realized that theories and facts were not in alignment. And the more we looked into it, we realized that these aliens, let's call them for now, they have this bizarre breeding program going on with us right now. And we believe that they're slowly changing the human race over time. And genetics has proved this theory correct because about 3,000 years ago, DNA from about 3,000 years ago shows the human has changed. Our genetics have changed 7%.
Our genome.
In just that relatively short amount of time. And that's more like thousands of years of evolution in a very short time.
Tens of thousands of years.
We think it's proof of their breeding program.
Their intervention.
Yeah, this bizarre human hybrid breeding program.
Hybrid, I was just going to say, it's not malicious. I would love to think of it as them doing this to help us.
Right.
That's how I want to look at it.
I know a lot of people want to see that, but it's really necessity in our book
on their part.
We really call them more like we call them intraterrestrials. That's kind of the term that we coined. We call them intraterrestrials, and we really call them our cousins because of basically the information we have found over 20 to 30 years of research that shows that there actually was a great flood that happened 12,850 years ago. We know where the impact comet occurred. We have the scientific data that shows that there was an impact at that time. It was in the northern hemisphere. It's called the Uccello horizon, and then that was basically at that point we were coming out of a ice age, and we were shoved back into another ice age for about 1100 years. So this is all stuff. We also can confirm that there was a genetic bottleneck. Now that we can map the human genome, we see that there was a genetic bottleneck of only 10,000 people that were alive.
We were reduced to only a population
Roughly,
of about
on the
10,000.
surface at about 13,000 years ago. So we know all these things that happened. So
Let's back up a little though.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we think that essentially these people flying the UFOs in our airspace are human beings that separated from our race 13,000 years ago
Really?
due to the Great Flood.
Oh, okay.
And so they escaped the cataclysm with their culture and their technology intact.
Mhm.
And we didn't. The rest of us left on the surface. We were almost wiped out, first of
Right.
all. And
Right.
those of us that weren't wiped out were essentially shoved back into the Stone Age, had to just completely start over, as far as
course.
science
and
and everything.
this is confirmable. We
Yes,
can
it has been
confirm it now.
confirmed because
Confirm
the
it.
crater has been found. The Younger Dryas comet impact zone has been discovered. It hit in Lake Superior, which at the time was we were coming out of an ice age. Lake Superior at that time was covered by the ice sheet. So this comet struck the ice sheet, and the impact was devastating. It would have caused tsunamis 1,000 foot high, rushing towards every coastline in the world at the same time. And have you ever seen the movie, Mimi, the Deep Impact movie?
Yes, I did.
Morgan Freeman was the president.
Right.
Yes,
In that movie, the plan A to escape this killer asteroid is to send astronauts to blow it up, right? But
right.
plan B was to sink these deep underground arcs on different continents all over the world.
Right.
And we believe that this may actually be what happened. That they had the same problem, right? They spotted this comet coming, and we knew it was going to be practically an extinction event. And so they sank these deep underground cities, and they didn't lose their technology, which makes them 13,000 years ahead of us,
But they were
technologically speaking.
They were on Earth, but underground.
Underground, deep underground.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Under there. They stayed.
The billionaires, today's billionaires are doing the same thing in New Zealand. You can confirm that as far as like the Musks and the other billionaires, they're building their fortresses underground in New Zealand and other places.
But why did they stay under so long, do you think?
We think it's because, well, the Younger Dryas boundary, which is the soil layer left above the impact zone, shows drastic climate upheavals that took place for about 1,000 years after the impact.
1,100 years to be specific, yes.
So we think that they just became comfortable and safe down there. It's actually safer to live underground in some ways. You don't have to worry about tornadoes and floods and
so eventually,
comets.
Eventually, some of them decided to venture out and see what the world looked like.
Yes, we think that we think thousands of years ago they kind of took pity on us poor slobs that were on the surface, just barely eking out a surviving living. See, we take a lot of this from these flood myths. There are when I came to our relationship, I had read this book called I forget the exact title, but it was by a man named Fraser in the 1700s. He had searched out 500 separate cultures around the world that had a flood myth in its most ancient lore. And almost all of these flood myths start exactly the same way. God warned us that a horrible flood was coming, and we got to either build an ark or or something.
I've got a question.
Of course. Sorry, Mimi.
No, I was saying like Noah's Ark in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
And since then, with Graham Hancock's work and other
Childress
people,
too,
Childress and the Cremo, like with Forbidden Archaeology, now it's up to like 1,200 different variations on the theme of the Noah's Ark. But the interesting thing to me is that they all had foreknowledge and forewarning.
Right.
Every single one. about a year or two, or maybe even more. We don't even know. We don't know.
That they spotted this comet
But they
coming.
knew. So there had to be advanced astronomy
I
Yes.
was
that we had to
gonna ask
be.
you,
There had to
Yes.
be.
At
how
least one
advanced-
culture on the planet had advanced astronomy.
Do you think they were advanced enough that they could send someone into outer space at that time?
Yes,
Oh, for sure.
we believe so. We think some of the there's these weird structures on other bodies in our solar system, like Mars has
And Phobos.
old structures on it. Phobos, one of Mars's moons, has a tower on it, and there's some stuff on the moon as well. So we're surmising that maybe this population of 13,000 years ago had evolved to the point that they actually had space travel and had bases on Mars, maybe. And so some of the people that escaped the cataclysm escaped into space, we think, or other stations in our solar system.
Some went up, some went down.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
popped
And
out.
Or underground.
He dies. But
like when I see grays in my mind's eye, I visualize a gray alien. I see a human being that's been underground for too long, right? Their eyes got bigger and blacker, and they got smaller in stature, and they got paler, and they
yeah,
didn't need hair anymore. You know, it's almost like if you put a human being underground for 13,000 years, I think that's
I
what
would
you're going to
think
get,
so.
you know?
I would think so. I think, vampires. And so, how much of the star seed theory do you know about? Because I'm trying to interlink some stuff here.
Or you're talking about the indigo children, right?
Well, yeah, which is, it
Star
comes
seeds.
out of that. Yeah. And you said
Well,
you
well, according to the definition by James von Prague and Nancy Ann Tapp, it goes
yeah,
back to the 70s. The 13
Yeah.
different, indicators as far as
right.
being a, indigo. I am indigo by far, easily. I meet 11 out of the 13.
Can you
And
name
I knew
those?
that when I was 3 years of age. I was playing at Shadow Ranch.
Tell that story. All right.
Sorry,
No, go ahead. You
I
were
was
3
playing
years
at
old.
Shadow Ranch park
Yeah.
by the big concrete tortoise
Uh-huh.
with the sand, like a typical, like,
Little
back
kid, yeah.
back in the 60s. That was a thing. You had the swing sets and you had the giant
I
tortoise
was
and
there.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, so I was kind of a loner, and I was 3 years of age, and I remember very, very vividly saying to myself, "Oh my God, I got to go through this again." Okay, I'm 3 years old. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
Okay. I
then I,
can get that. Yeah, I can get that because they say when you're first born and you really know everything and then you start forgetting. But I really want you to, for me, indulge me. Would you list the indigo characteristics for me? If the ones I mean, not that you have it right
Yeah,
in
go
front of
ahead, honey.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
I expected a lot of myself. I had psychic abilities. Okay,
Okay.
For sure.
very creative. I play multiple musical instruments. Languages are easy for me. I'm very headstrong. I believe, that I really should be better than other people sometimes. Um, I have premonitions sometimes. I saw who won the 2000 election about 2 years before. Unfortunately, I get frustrated with societal change. I have strong intuitions. I
Mhm.
have a lot of these things that are indicative. I'm very musical. I can
Uh-huh.
hear. For instance, when I first my mom, my first instrument was the accordion, which is my favorite instrument.
Mhm.
So when I was 7 years old, when I came back from England, from studying over there in England for 3 months, I came back. My mom wanted me to be an accordionist, and it turned out I did not know how to read music, but I was faking it because I was really good at listening to what other people were playing,
Playing by
and then
you.
I could kind of fake it, right? But
Playing by
after about 4 or 5 months, then I had to like play a piece of music, sight reading a piece of music, and
Uh,
it turned out that
That's when they
I
realized,
did
yeah.
not understand how to read music. I was like using my ear, and then all of a sudden my teacher in the class said, "Oh my God, he can't read music."
Yeah.
So then my mom sat down with my teacher, and I finally went ding.
Yeah,
Then I
they
could,
met after that.
and so, but it's like one of these things, like, but
Yeah.
I've had these things like when I was 7 years old. I remember playing in the backyard with the hose, and I was like, using the hose to push leaves around, right? With water. And I was thinking, and this is the 7-year-old thinking, right? I was
Mhm.
thinking it's much easier for man to destroy than it is for him to create. This is
Right.
the 7-year-old thinking these
I get
thoughts.
what
Mhm.
you're saying. So now let me ask you what you think of this theory. So I'm, you know, a fetus. I'm not born yet. And I found out later in a very dramatic way, I write about it in my book, Raised by Wolves,
Mhm.
Taught by Demons. My mother tried to abort me. All right. And she didn't
Whoa.
succeed, of course, because here I am.
Yes, obviously.
Obviously. And a lot of the traits that we were just talking about, I do have, but I also have every single medical problem or situation I have been in my whole life. The doctor or whoever would say, "Oh, I never saw that before. Oh, that's not likely. That's different." Or, I'm never normal, never. And I think to myself when I read about the starseed thing, hmm, maybe a starseed said, let's save this girl and implanted himself or herself in me. And as I got older, because they say sometimes, if you said 3 and 7, sometimes you start getting these thoughts and visions and remembering things. And that did start happening to me, and not until I was older. And up until 12 years old, I have no memory of my childhood at all. Okay. So I have a
Wow.
lot of clues here. And lately I have been coming to realize that I'm more intuitive than I realized. So
Mhm.
I like this theory, and I was going to write a book called Anatomy of an Alien, meaning me, because no matter what the medical problem was, they'd say, "Oh, this is different." I'll give you an example, like organs not being in the right place, things like that. You know.
Really?
Oh yeah. I had an infection in my stomach. They could not figure it out. They gave me every antibiotic and antifungal drug. I was in the hospital all summer. It's a few years back. And finally, they had to take out 85% of my stomach or I would have died. They
Oh,
could
no.
not figure out what was causing all these junctures and fistulas. And I could go on and on and on. I've had a ton of very bizarre things. So I'm going to try to interweave the starseed theory in with my alien medical history
Fair
and
enough.
see how okay. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to write it, research it, and hopefully to read it.
As you know, you were talking about how you're more open as a child and it seems to close off as you get
Yes.
older. When Stephen and I first got together, because Stephen was a Tai Chi teacher, master really for many, many years.
Hmm.
Tai Chi, of course, is a moving meditation and it automatically opens the chakras.
Yeah.
And when he started, becoming more and more proficient at it, he started astral projecting. It's one of the side effects of getting your chakras more wide open, right?
Mhm.
And when we started doing the shot, we decided to do some real Kundalini raising work.
With teachers,
We had teachers, we went to meditations, we went to chantings, we did a lot of the work at home too.
classes, yes.
Mhm.
And slowly but surely, I began to be able to astral project as well. And one of the things our teachers told us is that when you're a child, you're open, say you're using about 5%, they say, of your brain.
Mm.
And when you get older, it kind of closes off to more like about 3%. And
Mm.
I know that was true. When I was a child, I had a power. I had this weird, I called it my superpower. Nobody could lie to me. I could hear the difference between a lie and a truth. And I say here because it felt vibrational, but it was really more of like feeling it with your aura, but feeling like a vibration, like a hearing kind of vibration, right?
Like a
And
ding or a dong.
yeah, I would hear the truth is kind of like have this ding feeling, and the falsehood would go dong. And as I grew up, the this ability disappeared. But
Yeah.
when I began doing the work, the Kundalini raising and chakra opening work,
and I taught her the whole 108 of the Tai Chi
Tai
too.
Chi too, you know.
Which made a
Guys
big difference for
are
her.
But
very
after I started,
busy.
after I started doing the work, this power returned.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped doing the work, it kind of faded away again. Not completely. I still have a little inkling of it, you know, but it's funny how if you wanted to really explore
Yeah.
this on yourself, you know,
Yeah.
you might want to consider doing some chakra opening chanting and you know, maybe open your enlightenment, your clairvoyance up a little bit more, you know.
Combine it
Yeah,
with Tai Chi.
I just started working with chakras because of the problems I was having with my voice.
Mm-hmm.
So that I got into that. And, you know, there's so many things out there, and mostly from, you know, Eastern holistic thought and Buddhism and Hinduism and all that. And
Yes,
there's
very
so
much so.
you guys seem to have explored quite a bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I studied with Polly Zink for 7 years, Monkey Kung Fu, which is Taoist yoga and the whole bit. I mean, I used to know 28 different forms, including sword forms and staff forms, and now I just basically just do the Tai Chi, which is actually a very effective martial art.
And
Yeah.
qigong too,
And
you know.
Qigong. So it's basically
Yes.
it's all the stuff, like even the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo from the Koreans. It's like it's very effective. Like, if you want to, like, vibrate the throat chakra, it's more of a
Yeah.
ooh. When you do ooh, you feel it right in your throat chakra.
Yeah.
But if you do oh,
That's
it's
more the
right
heart
about your
chakra, yeah.
heart chakra, right?
Practice that with
Yeah.
meditation
And
sometimes.
then you know, the Namyo Renge Kyo is supposed to go through all of the vowels
Oh,
as you're humming and as you're doing the chant.
correct.
But I found most effectively the chanting one chakra at a time. The crown chakra is like an yeah, and if you as soon as you feel it kind of buzzing, you can actually feel the chakra sort of buzzing. Then you can focus your sound perfectly until it's buzzing at the most. And so I found one chakra at a time, one vowel sound at a time was a more efficacious way
Yeah.
of opening the chakras
And if you
myself.
visualize like the color, like a vibrant purple or a vibrant, blue white, if you
Yeah.
do that and you see the chakra, turning at the same time,
Mhm.
and there's actually books that will show you that if you do that with like an inhale of like 5 and then an exhale of 3
Yes.
and then an
I
exhale of
checked
3
Right.
and that kind of stuff. So you do that, it works, and then you can
See,
start doing astral
I'm
projecting.
just like in elementary school with this stuff, you have to realize.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning. I've done a little of the breathing thing and
It
chakras.
works. It
I'm
really does.
doing a little bit of it, and I have a niece that's a Reiki master, and she just opened up a place with the bowls, the singing
Oh
bowls.
yeah, the crystal,
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, and she's doing quite well because, and she lives in a rural area of Pennsylvania, and it's not like you're like, I'm in West Palm Beach, and there's tons of people here that are into new age type, thinking and chakras
Sure.
and stuff we're talking about, but they're not so much. But she has people coming in to try it and saying, "Oh, that really worked. That was wonderful."
Yes,
Mhm.
any vibration that helps open the chakras is
That's
efficacious
it.
for it.
Out,
Yes.
out out in our area, we have the Integratron, which is like, within an hour's drive of where we live. And the Integratron is George Van Tassel
This famous
built that.
building.
It's
Yeah.
really close to Giant Rock because we live very close to Landers. And I've done Tai Chi classes in the Integratron, but they also do like sound baths
That's what
with
she
the
does.
bowls. They
She
do
does
sound
sound.
baths
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
Integratron, which is like, like amplified.
It amplifies the chakra buzzing. It really does.
Does.
What
Like it's
what
wild.
state do you live in? What state?
California.
California.
Oh, okay, good. Well, see, that's it. There's
It,
more people in California that are into.
Landers. Yeah. We
Yeah.
live on the 33rd parallel,
Yeah,
which is
near
like,
Joshua Tree. It's
yeah.
a famous
Oh,
area. Yeah.
Joshua Tree, absolutely,
In
absolutely.
fact,
But
that's where I saw my first UFO, actually,
oh,
was
tell me
Joshua
about
Tree.
that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was
That's
life-changing for me.
yeah, I'd like to hear.
Stephen, by this time, it was in 2005 that I saw it. And Stephen, at at this point in time, he had already seen 3 UFOs,
Mm,
and he had all these abduction experiences in his family.
Mhm.
And nothing had happened to me. And I was like, I want to see something, right? I wish I'd seen something. And because I believed him, it's just, but you can never believe anyone
Well,
100%,
Well,
you
you
know?
you had some astral projection stuff by that
Yeah,
too.
but I mean, I hadn't, seen like a UFO, right? And then there it was finally on in January of 2005, as early in the month on a Monday night.
Nighttime, about 9:30 at night.
Yeah, we were coming back from this art meeting that we had in the evenings, monthly, and it was up in the sky. It was I was driving, and Stephen was there too, and it was through the windshield in front of us. It was just a white light, a round white light.
mm,
And at first I thought it was about double the brightness of Venus, say. And at first I thought it was a plane maybe coming into Palm Springs Airport, but it
mhm.
didn't behave like a plane. It didn't have the little blinky lights on either side like planes do, and it just hovered there. Wasn't behaving like a plane either.
Ah,
And as we were heading towards it, it got brighter and brighter. I'm not sure if it was moving to us as we were moving to it, or it was just hovering.
Hovering.
And us approaching got it closer and closer and brighter and brighter. And then I'd say it was about half the brightness of the moon
Mhm.
when it took off over the northern horizon and was gone in less than a quarter of a second. And it
Mhm.
took off at full speed instantaneously. It didn't ramp up to 20,000 miles an hour, just full speed, supersonic speed. So fast, it actually visually it streaked out into a line that collapsed behind it
Mhm.
for
Wow.
me. And I mean, a white light in the sky can be any number of things, but when it moves at that way, then it can't be anything else.
Yeah.
It's got to be a
That means
UFO, right?
lately they have the last few years. There's been some sightings where more than one or two people saw the same thing at the same
Yeah,
time, which
mass
makes
sightings, I guess.
makes it much harder to deny. So, Stephen, you have
Yes.
never had an alien abduction, but someone in your family has.
Oh no, he was
Oh, no, no, no.
You were.
many
Well,
times we believe. Yeah.
tell me
Yeah.
yours that you remember. Tell me
Well,
what.
in our book, we talk about it in the beginning.
In the preface, yeah.
There's also my brother too, my younger brother who's no longer with us, but my younger brother had a series of 3 when he was 16, and I had mine when I was 18. I had 5,
Okay.
which incorporated the whole family, all 5 of us.
And one when he was 10, we believe.
Well,
Oh,
we're gonna run
yes.
out of time, so just tell me about yours.
Okay. Well, when I was 10, I
Okay.
was awakened by this. I was living in at the house of Fallbrook, which is in the
Southern California.
southern, suburb of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was awakened by this noise that I didn't recognize at all. I knew it wasn't the dog. I was sleeping on the top of a bunk bed. My brother was on the bottom, so I carefully got out of the bed and I started walking down the hallway, which was partially lit because of the light in the kitchen. And my heart was beating. I just knew something was wrong, and I was kind of really scared. And just before I got to the living room, I just basically black out.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, I'm, a couple hours later, whatever, I'm back in my bed,
Tucked back in
and
bed
I'm
nicely.
back in bed, and I have no recollection of what happened in between.
Yeah.
And then not long after that, I saw my first UFO,
Mm-hmm.
which was a large orange globe that was going from south to north,
Mm-hmm.
about maybe, I don't know, maybe 1,000 feet in the air or whatever, pretty big. And
Yeah.
this was about 9:30 at night, and I saw it and I watched it, and it just then disappeared.
And
And
then
so
Mm-hmm.
when he was 18, he had a cluster of 5 events.
yes, yeah, when I was cluster, yeah, exactly. First, it started out the first night. My dad and I were cabinet makers. My dad was a master, and I was an apprentice, right? So my dad grew up in wartime England as as a child, and he was also a bobby. He was a cop, and he also served time in the RAF. So he's a no nonsense guy. So anyway, at breakfast time, this was 1979 January, so it was darker time of the year. So at breakfast time, he told me that his closet doors had opened and closed on him during the night. And I just kind of brushed it off. Like, okay, Dad, maybe it's a dream. So the next night, I was reading this book by Paramahansa Yogananda called Metaphysical Meditations. This is when I had started doing Tai Chi. And I said, Dad, you should read some of this stuff. It's really interesting. So I gave him the little booklet. And about a half hour later, he came back into my room with this really puzzled look on his face. He said, Stephen, I'm hearing this silver bell. I said, okay, Dad. So I followed him into the living room, and right by the chimney inside the wall, the 2x4 wall, there was this very distinct chiming of a silver bell. Now, my being a lifelong musician, I know what a silver bell sounds like.
They got
So-
his sister. She
so-
came in and she heard it too.
Yeah, my sister, yeah, she is 13, and she just was trying to turn her back on all this kind of stuff too. Where's that silver bell coming from? So we pounded on the wall and looked up the chimney, and there was no explanation. It went on for a good 10, maybe 15 minutes. The next morning, my mom and my brother were living in the house about 350 miles away that we were building because we were, contractors and cabinet makers up in Sonora, California, up in the lower Sierras. And my mom said, the funniest thing happened, Jeffrey, my dad, said that, I heard this bell about 9 o'clock last night, and I thought it was a phone. So I picked up the phone, and she said there was this voice on the other side saying, I am the invisible Beachy.
We
Or
still don't know what that means.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
I talked to my brother, and my brother, who was 12 at the time, said, Stephen, the phone, there was no bell, but the phone didn't ring, but my mom did pick up the phone, and she swears that, anyways, it happened the exact same time.
He heard it ring, he did not.
Yes.
Yeah.
She heard it ring, he did not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was the next night, I'm sleeping in my bedroom on not on the top bunk, but on the lower, and I'm awakened by this whizzing sound in the ear, like a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And I think, well, I don't know. I think, is it a fan? Is it a bug or something like that? So I kind of looked down the hallway, and kitchen lights on. I just decided to go back to bed. So I'm on my left side, and then the bed is pushed from the base 2 gentle times, like push, push.
Mhm.
And I think, well, living in Southern California, maybe it's an earthquake, So
Yes,
been through
of
earthquakes.
course.
So
Ignores it.
So I ignore it, right? Try to ignore it, and then I'm 18 at the time, by the way. So then right after that, another 2 pushes, a little stronger. Try to ignore it, and then another 2 pushes, a lot stronger. And this point, I'm getting worried. Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, I get a tap on my mid deltoid below my shoulder. Tap, 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 just like somebody has their index finger saying, "Wake up, Steve," or like, "I want to talk to you." And at this point, I'm thinking, is somebody playing a trick on me, or what's going on? So then I whirled over and I said, "What?" And I can tell there's something there, but I can't see it physically with my eyes. And then I black out. Told my dad at breakfast, and then then I was like, I was pretty wigged out at this point, right? So the next night I decide I am not going to sleep in that room. So I decided to sleep in my clothes, my work clothes, in the living room on the sofa, which is next to my piano, which is that's what I decided to do. So, anyways, I woke up about 5:30 in the morning. It was dark, and I looked at my piano, and I listened to the fountain in the other room, so I was awake. I was not in any kind of sleep paralysis or anything like that.
Mhm.
So, anyways, the front door is 25 feet from where I was sleeping, right? So there was like this portal or this entrance that opened. There was this being that was tall, about 6.5 feet tall, skinny, intense blue white, that just walked toward me in about a second and a half to two, bringing the blue white light all into the living room. It
Filled the room,
completely
yeah.
filled the living room, and it stopped by my right hand side, and immediately the whole right side of my body, basically take a knife through it. Okay, I am paralyzed. Okay, my eye was open. I couldn't close on my eye even if I wanted to. Okay, so I was paralyzed, and it bent down to me and it said in my ear, "Hey, Steve," in kind
What
of a
did it say?
whisper.
And what
Hi,
did he,
Steve.
Hi, Steve.
what he called
In a
you
whisper, though, yeah.
Right. I
How
couldn't tell
dare
what
he call you Steve?
You know, yeah, I know. That's
I couldn't
how
tell.
rude.
I couldn't tell whether it was male or female, but part of me was thinking that I'm going to see the family spirit guide that has been following the family for 4 generations. This
Yeah.
family spirit guide, by the way, its name is Oglegly. Okay, I was told from being a 3-year-old that we had this family spirit guide that
You
it
gotta
helped people
shorten this.
and save people's lives. My uncle's life was saved in Ceylon.
By
You
old
realize
Glegly,
you
Right,
have
yeah.
too many
Glegly.
stories for this short program, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
You
anyways,
can go on.
the long and the short of it is it stayed there for a little while, then it left, told my dad, but I blacked out again. So 6 hours later, I was getting hungry and my dad was too for lunch, and I said I'll go to down get some lunch. I pulled out the coins out of in my pocket, and all the coins were magnetic.
It's
Okay.
amazing.
I could pick up the coins with the edge, with the face, so could my dad. This is 6 hours after it happened.
I have to
Okay. We
actually
didn't know what to
stop
think.
you. I can't believe I have to stop you before
Yeah,
we.
sorry. We can go on for all day.
I am gonna go read your book and then I'm gonna get in touch with you. And
Great.
I know those listening are very interested too, but we have to cut these things into segments. Too much.
Sure.
Sure, of course. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, we're gonna do that though. We're gonna do that. And I'm gonna get back in touch. But thank you so much for telling us what you did